Welcome to our Trump Briefing Show. Today, we're diving into some lively stories from around the world. First up, Indigenous activists are standing strong, protesting President Trump's decision to reinstate Columbus Day instead of celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day. Native leaders are pushing for a holiday that truly honors their culture and confronts historical injustices, emphasizing the ongoing fight for respect and sovereignty. Next, in Canada, the upcoming federal elections are stirring up tensions, especially with U.S. trade threats looming large. Incumbent Prime Minister Mark Carney is trying to navigate tricky trade disputes and economic challenges, while challenger Pierre Poilievre is rallying the working-class vote with populist promises. Polls show Carney has a slight edge, but the stakes are high as both leaders tackle issues like tariffs and housing costs. Finally, over in Australia, the election results tell a story of a Trump effect gone wrong for opposition leader Peter Dutton. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's Labour Party secured a surprising victory, emphasizing unity and domestic issues like wages and climate change. Dutton's confrontational style, often compared to Trump's, backfired, leading to his defeat and a clear message from voters for steady leadership. Please continue to watch for more details. The Toronto Star vividly captures the ongoing struggle of Indigenous activists who view President Trump's rejection of Indigenous Peoples Day as a stark reminder of the need for continued advocacy. Native leaders emphasize that the fight for recognition is rooted in a desire to honor Indigenous cultures and confront the dark history of Columbus, who is often celebrated for his navigation but also infamous for the atrocities committed against Native populations. While Biden's administration marked a significant step by issuing a proclamation recognizing Indigenous resilience, it stopped short of making Indigenous Peoples Day a federal holiday or removing Columbus Day, highlighting the complex political landscape. Trump's refusal to recognize Indigenous Peoples Day and his rhetoric framing Columbus's legacy as under attack by wokeness underscores the ongoing cultural and political tensions surrounding American history, with Native leaders like Jonathan Nez condemning such actions as regressive, pushing for a truthful recounting of history that acknowledges Indigenous suffering and sovereignty. CNN provides a detailed overview of the political and cultural implications of these debates, especially in the context of the upcoming Canadian federal elections amid rising tensions with the United States. The article emphasizes how Trump's tariffs and threats to Canadian sovereignty have dramatically altered the electoral landscape, shifting voter concerns towards economic stability and national identity. Prime Minister Mark Carney, a former central banker, positions himself as a steady leader capable of navigating the trade war's fallout, contrasting with Pierre Poilievre's populist rhetoric. The article underscores the growing distrust and anti-American sentiment among Canadians, who are increasingly wary of Trump's aggressive tariffs and threats, comparing the current climate to the Vietnam War era's nationalistic fervor. Carney's diplomatic approach and financial expertise are portrayed as assets in a period of economic uncertainty, with the election becoming a battleground not only for leadership but also for the country's stance on its relationship with the U.S. and its own economic future. Yahoo US echoes the sentiments of Native activists and the political discourse surrounding Columbus Day, illustrating how Trump's stance fuels ongoing debates about history, identity, and recognition. The article highlights how Native leaders see Trump's rejection of Indigenous Peoples Day as a symbol of ongoing marginalization, emphasizing that the fight for Indigenous dignity is a multi-generational effort that transcends political administrations. It details how the movement to replace Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day gained momentum over the last decade, fueled by broader racial justice movements and protests against Columbus statues, which are seen as symbols of colonial violence. Historian Philip Deloria notes that Columbus Day's origins are intertwined with American nationalism and ethnic identity, particularly Italian-American pride, but recent protests and historical reckoning challenge this narrative. Indigenous leaders like Shane Morigeau stress that acknowledging history honestly is essential for education and reconciliation, asserting that the goal is not to erase history but to tell it accurately and with respect for Indigenous sovereignty, a message that resonates amid the ongoing cultural and political debates across North America. The CNN article vividly portrays the alarming decline in press freedom during President Trump's tenure, emphasizing his administration's active efforts to suppress investigative journalism and intimidate media outlets. Trump's administration has launched investigations into broadcast networks, challenged federal funding for NPR and PBS, and even seized control of the White House press pool, all while personally suing news organizations and threatening more legal action. These actions echo authoritarian tactics, with the Justice Department reinstating rules that allow secret investigations into journalists' records, threatening the very core of investigative reporting. Groups like the Committee to Protect Journalists warn that these measures are creating a climate of fear among journalists, reminiscent of repressive regimes abroad, and threaten the public's right to be informed. Trump's appointees, such as FBI and FCC officials, have openly expressed partisan and aggressive stances against the media, further consolidating a hostile environment that hampers impartial coverage and fosters self-censorship. The CNN report also highlights the dire humanitarian situation in Gaza amid Israel's ongoing blockade, which has lasted nearly 3 months and severely restricted aid deliveries. Israeli officials are currently in talks with the U.S. and international partners to establish mechanisms that could bypass Hamas and deliver humanitarian assistance, as the enclave faces a looming famine and health catastrophe. Despite Israel's claims that the blockade pressures Hamas, critics argue that the total siege violates international law and amounts to using starvation as a weapon of war. The situation is dire, with medical professionals warning of a potential wave of deaths from malnutrition, as aid organizations prepare to send supplies that require Israel to lift its blockade. Political tensions are high, with Israeli leaders and far-right factions fiercely opposing aid entry, and ongoing debates about the mechanisms that could allow humanitarian relief to reach Gaza's 2 million residents without empowering Hamas. Finally, the Yahoo US article sheds light on the scientific community's response to the Trump administration's dismissal of contributors to the US government's key climate report. In a bold move, the American Meteorological Society and the American Geophysical Union announced a collaborative effort to produce peer-reviewed research covering all aspects of climate change, aiming to sustain scientific momentum despite government suppression. This initiative emerges in the wake of nearly 400 scientists being dismissed from the 6th National Climate Assessment, a cornerstone document that had been scheduled for publication in 2028. The societies emphasize that their work is not a replacement but a vital supplement to ensure that critical climate science continues to inform policy and public awareness. Experts like Catherine Hayhoe underscore the importance of accessible, accurate climate information, especially as federal agencies have removed climate data from official websites and silenced discussions on extreme weather and environmental risks, reflecting a broader effort to undermine scientific integrity during Trump's presidency. The Nikkei Asia reports that Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's decisive victory in the recent federal election was significantly influenced by voters' aversion to the Trump effect, which had cast a shadow over the campaign. Albanese's campaign was characterized by a disciplined and positive approach, emphasizing unity, hope, and Australian values, contrasting sharply with opposition leader Peter Dutton's perceived alignment with Trump-like rhetoric and policies. Dutton's support for controversial immigration policies, his support for nuclear energy, and his association with the "Make Australia Great Again" slogan, which echoed Trump's branding, appeared to alienate voters concerned about economic stability and social cohesion. The election results reflected a broader rejection of right-wing populism, as the electorate favored Labor's moderate, stable stance on issues like cost of living, healthcare, and climate change, leading to a landslide victory for Albanese's party and a significant setback for the Conservative coalition. The BBC highlights that Dutton's campaign suffered from a series of missteps, including inconsistent policies, gaffes, and an overt attempt to emulate Trump's combative style, which ultimately backfired in the Australian context. His support for policies such as public sector job cuts and embracing far-right rhetoric, including association with the One Nation Party, did not resonate with a populace wary of divisive politics and economic uncertainty. The Trump effect served as a double-edged sword. While Dutton aimed to position himself as a strong leader capable of managing international trade tensions and domestic issues, voters increasingly saw him as out of touch and too radical. The election underscored Australia's preference for experienced, moderate leadership over the unpredictable and contentious style associated with Trump, with Albanese's focus on social equity, economic stability, and national unity securing his re-election. Al Jazeera emphasizes that Albanese's victory marks a historic milestone, as he becomes the first Australian Prime Minister in 2 decades to secure a second consecutive term. His campaign, centered on addressing the cost of living crisis and promoting social justice initiatives like reducing student debt and improving healthcare, resonated strongly with voters. The election was largely driven by economic concerns, with the electorate favoring Labor's promises of stability and progressive reforms over the Conservative coalition's fluctuating policies and association with the Trump effect. Dutton's defeat, including his loss of his parliamentary seat, reflected the electorate's rejection of a confrontational and populist political style. Albanese's emphasis on Australian values and resilience in facing global challenges, along with the coalition's failure to present a coherent alternative, culminated in a clear mandate for continued leadership under Labor, signaling a rejection of the divisive politics associated with Trump and its influence on Australian politics. According to Al Jazeera, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has rejected Vladimir Putin's proposed three-day ceasefire, dismissing it as a theatrical performance and emphasizing that Ukraine does not trust Russia's intentions, especially with the Victory Day commemorations. Zelensky criticized the offer as unserious and reiterated Ukraine's openness to a longer, 30-day ceasefire proposed by the U.S., while refusing to guarantee the safety of foreign dignitaries visiting Moscow for May 9 celebrations, citing concerns over their security. Russia responded by accusing Zelensky of threatening the safety of World War II veterans and warned that Ukraine's actions could jeopardize the lives of those attending the celebrations. Meanwhile, Zelensky discussed military aid and sanctions with U.S. President Donald Trump, highlighting a new minerals deal that aims to bolster Ukraine's defense and attract U.S. investment. Despite ongoing diplomatic talks, the situation on the ground remains tense, with Russia launching drone attacks on Kharkiv and other Ukrainian cities, causing injuries and damage, while Moscow claims to have intercepted numerous Ukrainian drones and missiles. Additionally, a drone attack in Novorossiysk in southern Russia injured 4 people, illustrating the escalating conflict's reach. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.
Vulture sleep, life from cycle, leads insatiable cry. As a wasteland, trees die, eyes and seas